Hey, I'm back with you at this panel. I'm just starting to mask this off. Remember we done this other panel in the last video. So what I'm doing is I've moved over to this other side of this panel, and I'm going to create, similar flame pattern, but I'm going to make it a little bit different. And I want it to be bigger because we're going to do real fire inside of this one. I'm just going to show you some different things that you can do. We've actually done it quite a bit on some hot rods and some bikes as we've laid out the old traditional flames like this, and then inside of them we done the real fire. The customer wanted they wanted real fire, but they didn't want it just to cover their whole project. So this is kind of the way we did it, and I wanted to show you how to do that. So what I'm doing is just kind of getting our pattern laid out here, and I'm not going to spend tons of time on this to make it perfect because it is, a training video. If this was a customer's vehicle, of course I would spend lots and lots of time on it to get the pattern laid out just exactly perfect the way I want it. So we'll just kind of get this laid out, and then we'll get started here. I think I'll just shorten this one up. Now this is the blue fine line tape that I'm using, that I showed you in this last video. This is the 1/8 inch. I also use 1/2 inch. I use it for bigger projects, but like on this one here, we're going to use this 1/8 inch because it just turns the corners and it just works so much nicer. This is going to have a totally different look than the flames we did in the last video. I think you'll like it. It's a very neat look when it's done. Of course, as I mentioned to you in some other videos, is the real fire looks the best on top of a black background. It's just the way it works. You can do real fire on a lot of different backgrounds, but this seems to work. Yeah, not so much work. It does work. It works better, but it also looks better. More realistic on top of black. Another favorite is we've done it on top of red. So like we had a bike in here, we done red. It was a red bike, and we done the real fire, and we used yellow. So the only color we used was yellow, and it worked out really good. Looked good. I think we'll just quit at that. Like I said, I'd spend a lot more time getting everything more like I wanted, but since this is a training video, we'll just get rolling here. I just don't want to have these videos too awful long because it does make them a lot harder to load up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, of course, this panel was already Scotch-Brighted and then cleaned. Now what we're going to do is we're going to wipe it down one more time here. With our, actually let me get my wax and grease remover because we have had our fingers on there. What I've got is my wax and grease remover here. And I've got it mixed up in a spray bottle. This is the DX330. This is a PPG wax and grease remover. And I've got my lint-free shop towels here. And I'm just going to spray on the shop towel. I'm just going to kind of wipe down inside and where the paint's going to be on these flames. This is always a good thing to do, especially when you've been masking off. You've had your fingers laying on these panels. Now yesterday, you can see I've got a little bit of residue off there, so it's always good to use that. Now we'll take our tack rag. And you got to be careful where you're going around and pushing. You don't want to push too hard because you'll pull some of these edges up. So you just kind of go lightly. Excuse me. Kind of wipe that off. This one here, it don't show it as good. I went back and watched that video, and it don't show it near as good in the video as it does here in person. Of course, nothing does, but that thing, it looks rounded. It looks like it's standing up off this panel, you know, an inch. Just really has got that round look. Now we're going to use. Remember yesterday in this last video we used the semi-transparent cover to mask. We're going to use clear today. And the part number, this is a tcpglobal.com item. The part number is a 12 by 150. So it's 12 inches by 150 yards on this roll. Here's the part number. ID number 12-159-070-1D, like dog. So we'll find the end here. That makes it a lot easier to see. See, you can see right through that. I use this quite a bit. You know, you just get your favorites. I like the other so much better. Of course, the other is right here. Let me read the part number off to you. And this is a semi-transparent. I like this the best because a lot of times what I'll do is lay something out and maybe draw on it. Like you've seen in some of my videos, I'll draw out a pattern. Well, you can't very well do it on the clear, but you can on this. So here's the part number for this. This is also TPC Global. It's KUS STMP, or excuse me, MF. So let me start again. KUS STMF 12150. See, these numbers are down inside. ID number 12-006-137-2. 12 inches wide as well. I found that 12-inch wide is just a little easier to work with. And yeah, you can go with the wider if you want, but the 12 inches, it'll pretty much cover most of the stuff you're going to do. You can always go out to the side of it and add more. When you're working by yourself, which most of the time we are, it makes it pretty hard to use the wider stuff. You see there, I pulled up my, so I pulled up my blue tape a little bit. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to get the wrinkles out. And this is going to happen, so it's better to try to get this down first time, and I have to pull back up. That's why this narrower, the 12-inch, works the best, because you're getting wider than this, and it clings. It tries to stick. Some of the wrinkles we're just going to have to deal with. I don't want to pull it back up, because if I do, it's going to pull my blue tape. So you just got to do a better job of getting it stuck down. So the best way is to start like at the top. So here's the 12 inches wide. So it'd be better to start here and then take it like a squeegee and just kind of work it down as you roll it down, and just keep working it down. So, my bad. Not a big deal. You can just kind of push some of these wrinkles down. Now, if we was doing a different deal here, we'd have to do it different. But now remember, I used a X-Acto knife yesterday. I'm going to use a razor blade for this one, and I'm just going to follow. See, now we're not going to do this because that actually ends here, so we're good here. We'll just start here. We're following our blue, and I'm just cutting right in the center. So where I see that blue pin strap below, I'm cutting right in the center of that. I'm not pushing too hard because I don't want to go through it. Because if I go through that, I'm going to score my metal below it. I don't want to do that. So we're just pushing hard enough to cut through the clear. Is all we're doing. I like the X-Acto knife better, but I also wanted to show you, in case you don't have one, you can use a simple razor blade. Make sure you use a sharp one. Now, these things are pretty cheap, so always keep a sharp one. Same thing on your X-Acto knife, always keep sharp blades in it, because if you have to push too hard, which you do with dull blades, you're going to eventually go through and score the surface below, the panel below, and you're not going to like the outcome of that at all. Because it's hard to cover up. You notice my little pinky finger out here to the side? I'm using it as a guide as I go around. Now by having this mask off like this, see here's another thing. If you don't have the clear stuff here, if you don't have the, the Frisket papers, can you do this project without it? Yep. You can take masking tape, mask off everything that you don't want to paint. Takes way longer. And if you use masking tape, remember to deaden that tape. I think you remember in the other videos how we deaden the tape. You notice I've got on a hoodie sweater right now. So works really good for deadening tape. You just take your tape and just put it up with the sticky side out. You just take that tape and put it right up to your shirt or your sweater, whatever, and it'll pick up that lint, and it makes that tape a lot less aggressive. Because aggressive tape on top of fresh paint is going to get you in trouble. Because it will pull your paint. If you have places that your paint's not stuck down good, it will pull it. And you're going to have to go back and do extra work. You see here it's not cut clear through right there on that corner. So I just got to kind of go back here a little bit and cut on through. I'm not sure I cut that one. By starting up here at the tops and then just work your way down. It's going to work the best for you. We used to use a clear years ago that wasn't worth a nickel. That stuff was junk. It wouldn't stick to nothing. If you ever had to pull it up once, then you couldn't get it to ever stick again. Now this stuff here, I think as you notice, hear that? It sticks pretty good. So it's a good product. That number that I just gave you, definitely want to write that number down. Go to TCP Global and you get that stuff. Now just kind of go around your lines, your blue tape, and just kind of push firmly to push that down so it locks down against your blue tape. That's going to help prevent, like where I've got all the air bubbles. You got to push a little harder there to kind of iron them out. It just helps prevent the overspray from getting down underneath You're going to have a little in places, but especially where you got these air bubbles, I promise you I'm going to have some right there. But it's nothing that we can't fix. If this had been on a motorcycle tank or a project I'm doing for somebody for hire, I would have pulled this off and started over. I wouldn't have near these many air bubbles because it's too much work later to go back and clean all that up. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to wipe this down again with the tack rag. Now here's just a little tip. If we were doing this on anything besides the test panel here, like if I was doing this for hire for a customer, I'd take my transfer paper and I'd go over on top of this to cover this. I'd come over to cover this because I wouldn't want to get overspray over on top of all that. And you'll also, wherever that line is right there, you're going to have a line down through there. So what I'm going to do here is show you real quick. I'm going to go ahead and cover that. Let's see if we can do a better job of covering this time. Start here at the top. Pretty clean. It tries to really stick. Now what I'm doing is I'm pulling on this roll. I'm pulling down on it to try to get it tight. You see, that worked a lot better. I'll just take my razor blade, go across it, cut it off. See, that worked a lot better. So now I've got that all covered up. But like right here, see where I overlapped it? I've got it over on my line, so I might have to go across here and make a cut. Pull that off because I want paint on there. And right here I've got a little bit on the area that I want paint on, so I've got to make sure I get all them off. Now if you want to ensure, which I do on projects, you want to ensure that you're not going to have something creep under these overlaps. Take your 3/4 inch masking tape and where you've got the overlap, you just go down along it, cover it up. With your tape, that way you're not going to have anything that's going to try to drift under. It's pretty amazing of the paint that creeps underneath places, and you just don't think it would, but it will. There's places you will not think that paint can get under, but it can always find a way. Now I'll show you by leaving this undone. See, normally, like I said, I'd mask that off, but I'm going to leave this and show you that even though we're painting clear over here, I'm going to show you when we pull all this off, there's going to be a line of overspray right there, and I'll show you that. I'll leave that just so you can see the importance of masking areas like that off. So we're just going to leave that. That way you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to mix up my Molly orange. Remember, this is a mixture of candy apple red and tangerine orange, and it gives a lot more orangey color, which is what we want to get this glow, because we're going to do real fire. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in a circular motion at the bottom and work my way up, and I want it heavier red at the bottom and then start fading it as it gets to the top. I don't want it super heavy at the top. I'm just going in a circular motion. And with this fire, the circular motion, what it does is it gives it that smoky, cloudy look that fire. See, as I get here at the top, look, I'm just misting it, because I don't want that solid red as it works towards the top. So I'm just kind of circular motioning. Okay, now here's as I get to the top, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to kind of fade it. I'm holding back a ways. I don't want that solid at the top. In these areas like this, I want a little bit more. Now I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to put more at this bottom because I want it really intense. Okay, we've used that. We're going to kind of let that flash off, dry a little bit. What I'm doing is just running some reducer here through my airbrush, kind of clean it out a little bit. We're waiting on that to dry. I raised my door here, get my stand and my camera's on. Remember I told you if I turned my exhaust fan on, it'd be so stinking loud, you'll go to here. Raise the door to get a little fresh air in here. Still see some black showing through, so where I'm going circular motions, that's going to give it a really smoky look when we're done, and that's what we're after. We don't want just solid, we want some of those black areas showing through. Okay, chrome yellow, shaking it up in my bottle. Some in my airbrush here. I cleaned out the red that was in it. All right, so now I'm going to find a art tool, stencil I'm going to use. This is the Wildfire C. C like Charlie. This is art tool. Go to TCB Global, you can pick these up. You can also make them. And remember, the things that we're after is these curves. So you can make stuff. You can make curves, different curves. Go to like Hobby Lobby and you can pick up, you know, a clear material that's fairly thick like this. I mean, this is not super thick, but it's way thicker than paper. And now this is solvent proof. And that's one thing that you want, because you don't want to have stuff that's not solvent proof, because then when you go to try to clean it, because after a while this buildup, you've got to clean it off. Take a reducer or thinner, clean it off, and if it's solvent proof, they won't curl up. If they're not solvent proof, eventually they'll just curl up and are junk. You can't use them anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of start here like at the bottom and work our way up. Now you see I'm going around these, so where my art tool was, where my template was, I'm going around that edge like a little dagger stroke, and it just helps it puts a fuzzy edge around it. It don't look so stencily, which is what I like. Now I'm going to use different shapes. By using different shapes, I won't look quite so cookie cutter. It's not going to look, everything won't look just the same. Okay, so now up in here, let's blow around this curve. So I'm blowing around that curve. Now I'm going to flip it around, and where these two kind of go together right here, I'm going to blow on the other side of the curve. And go around here and put a little bit of fuzzy edge around it. Curves is all I'm doing. I'm just blowing around the rounded part of that stencil. That's all I'm doing. So I'm going to use a different shape. Let's use one of these shapes here and get a little bit of a different pattern going. Like here, what we can do is just find this shorter curve and kind of go around that curve right there. Not much, it's just right on the tip of that curve. And kind of have it like the lines coming out of here and then going right up into that one there. Same thing here. As we work our way up in here, we're just going to continue to keep using the curve shapes. That's all we're after. Now I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to use some different shaped curves. Remember, I don't want to get that, I don't want this thing to look, you know, all cookie cutter like we're using the same thing over and over, because it just don't look as good. And having these extra little lines through it, let me get you closer so you can see these extra lines right in here. those little wispy lines, they're dagger strokes. Those little wispy lines, dagger strokes, is what fire does. So when you take pictures, which I highly recommend, take pictures of fire. Make you some different fires, like cardboard fires, make all kinds of different fires, and you'll see what I mean. You're going to see those lines, like little dots like that, little hot spot dots. That's what your fire does. So when you're taking these pictures, like I showed you in the other video there, out of my little folder, you're going to see these shapes. And those pictures are what's going to really help you create a lot better look. So as we get up here in the top, around these tops, you just want to create some little hot spots up in there. You may be thinking, oh my gosh, it's going too fast. I can't see what he's doing. Well, it's one thing with this fire, you've got to, the faster you go, the better it's going to look for you. When you try to be all too perfect and just make everything perfect, your fire's never going to look as good. So just get right in there and go after it. Because there again, when you go back and reference your pictures, those pictures, there's nothing at all perfect about those pictures when you see what fire really does. Okay, now I'm going to put some more yellow down in here. You're going to be so amazed when we pull this paper off this mask and we reveal this. You're going to be blown away by what this looks like. I'm putting quite a bit of yellow in here, so I'll show you what I'm going to do. Get some more of that intense, fiery look. I'm going to come over the top of this. Okay, we're going to quit that. Letting that dry, I'm going to clean out my airbrush here. And we're going to go right over top of that with our candy orange. Orange glow. And it's going to make that thing, yeah, it's going to make it a real orange look, but it's going to make it glow like crazy. So here's our orange glow candy. Shaking it up. Yeah, you can already see the overspray. Now, of course, we put that clear down on top of this, but there's a buildup of overspray there. And I promise you, you don't really see it on top of this black, but we didn't mask this for that simple reason so you could see what it does. I promise you, there's going to be a nice, ugly line right there that we're going to have to deal with. and that's something on a customer's vehicle or whatever it is you're doing, a project that you want to be nice and clear. Put clear over it. You don't want to have to deal with stuff like that. Okay, I put my candy in my airbrush, candy orange, a little bit of reducer in there, a few drops. Now I'm just kind of running it through my airbrush. We'll get on the paper right here beside, kind of test it. Okay, so now what we're ready to do is go right in here and blow our candy. Remember what I talked to you yesterday about on our last video, is take our tack rag in between these coats. Lightly go over it before you put the next color on, especially with the candies. See, it picked up some of that color. It gets some of that dust off. And it's going to make it look so much better. Okay. We'll start blowing in circular motion. Now just getting everything covered, and I'll go back over it. Now we're going to start in back here and start in a little heavier this time. Yeah, it's starting to really glow. That's what we want. We want that glow. That's what's really going to give it that hot look. I think we'll go that one more time. Now another thing you can do, and I showed you in the last fire we done, is when I put on that first coat of red, we could have came back here, because I do it both ways. It looks better if we would have went the next step. So what I would have done after that Molly orange, is I would have came over with red candy, then the yellow, then the orange. That you're going to get the best look that way. I'm going to open this door again. And when I'm blowing this, I'm holding a shirt over my nose. I can't talk with a mask on, but when I'm blowing this, I've got the trigger back all the way, so I'm wide open and holding back, about 3 inches or so, circular motion. Okay, we're going to let that dry. I'll clean out my airbrush here. So I put a little reducer in it, put the cap on it, put a rag over the top of it, shake it. And you put like a little waste cup over the side. I've got these little small mixing cups. They're the small ones. That's what I use for my waste cup. So I'll dump what's in my airbrush, the waste. I'll dump in there, and I'll take this and dump it in my bigger. I've got a 5-gallon waste can, and I'll dispose of it properly. Looking pretty good. Okay, now what we would do if we was really creating the real fire, and I'm not going to do it because it's going to make this video way too long. So the next step, take your Pagan gold candy, go over this after this dries, take your tack rag, wipe it, then take your Pagan gold candy and go over that whole thing. And it's going to really intensify the glow of this thing. Then we come back with the chrome yellow and start redefining some of the places that we want real hot. So I'm going to tell you the steps we're doing as we would do it in real fire, but I'm going to cut out a few just because of time's sake of this video. That makes sense. Got my chrome yellow here. Give it a shake. Okay, now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of performance white. So I got the yellow in there. I'm going to put probably 4 or 5 drops of white in there, and it gives it kind of a pale yellow look. A few drops of reducer. Put the lid on it, rag over it, shake it good. Okay. Shut this door. We're about ready to roll here. Now I'm going to test this, but I'm not going to touch out there on the paint. I'm going to touch the masking on the side of it. So these places that's masked off, you can kind of touch that. See if it's dry. You see it appears to be really dry. Now this candy, sometimes it's hard to tell because it leaves a shine. What you don't want to do when you get under your tack rag, you don't want to stop with this tag right in there because it can mar it. So we're going to move pretty quick and lightly. So I'm just moving very quickly, and I'm not hardly pushing down on it at all. Just very lightly, just kind of letting it glide. Because if I push down hard, see, like right there, it left a little place, a little mark, because it's still tacky. So see right there, I left a little place. But it's not a big deal. We can fix it. But because of time, I'm not letting this stuff dry near as what I would as a real project. So, because this video would be 2 hours long if I did. So what we're going to do is just speed things up. So you're going to want to let your stuff dry longer, especially candies. It takes them longer to dry. Now I've went to a different template. I don't want to use the same one because I don't want that cookie cutter. I don't want to look, repetitious. So I'm just going to come in here in a few places. Just kind of make a few different patterns. And I'll flip templates. So what I'll do is I'll do this a little bit, and then I'll grab that other one and we have all go. And I'm going to flip them around. So you can use the different ones. I just don't want to have everything looking the same all the time. So I'm going to constantly keep flipping these, using different ones to get different looks. Okay, right there I've got a little bit of a boo-boo because of that pack rag sticking, so I'm going over it. No big deal, it's fixed, it's gone. So you see, I'm just kind of making different patterns. I'm not using the same one over and over. And as I get up in here, I'm going to start doing less and less. Really starting to get a glow to it. Getting that realistic look. Remember, we're just using curves. Just using all these rounded curves, corners. That's what I'm after. I'm not want to do anything more than just that. See, I've kind of created a different pattern so you can still see the pattern below it, and it makes it look like you got multiple layers on there. So that's why I'm doing that. I'm not trying to follow the same pattern. I may catch a few of the same ones, but for the most part, I'm using a different pattern because I don't want just, you know, one pattern. I want to see different patterns underneath there because it makes it look like you've got multiple layers, you know, multiple tires. Starting to get a good look good. See how these places are really just starting to glow? Now we may come in, because I'd like this bottom to be a little bit redder than what it is. We'll probably come in here and just put a tad bit of red candy in a few places just to show you how that one step that we left out would look a lot better. Okay, that's pretty much all I'm going to do with that. So I think what we'll do is we'll come in here with the red candy. And just kind of intensify that a little bit. I want that a little deeper in that one step I was telling you I left out with the red candy. And if you go over to the materials, or actually it's named supplies page on this website, you'll see the exact step-by-step formula, and I'll have all the, here's your red candy. I'll have the exact formula step-by-step, what you start with, what you finish with, and I'll also have the numbers for each color. At the time of this video here, I don't have the numbers all on there yet. Okay, this is the red candy. Run it through here to clean it out, make sure we got all the other color out, spread over to the side. Now we're not going to do it on the yellow. We're going to do it inside these spots. See, this is where we should have just went ahead and done that step. We wouldn't have to go back and do this. Let that dry a little bit. You can see the difference it makes. So it's a step there that, as you can see, makes a difference. Okay, now what I'm doing, pagan gold candy, give it a shake. bottle's leaking. These bottles, after a while, you're going to want to replace them. I'm going to have to throw 4 of these paints out into new bottles. Every couple of years you have to do that. You'll see some of them get taped up because they get cracks in them after a while. Even though they're good bottles, that paint reducer that's in them, after a while, will make them brittle. If you have to drop one, which I have, then you end up with cracks. Okay, I've got my painted gold in there. Kind of run it through, make sure I got it cleaned out. What we're focused on is these hot spots. So where that bright yellow, that mixture of yellow and white was that we put in there, that's what we're focused on. We're just kind of focused on getting the pagan gold on there. You can kind of see it, it's really starting to come to life. Now I don't care if I get it on the rest of it, because actually it'll make it, the whole project, glow. Remember I told you a while ago some steps that we left out because of time. One of them is pagan gold over the whole thing, because that's what's really intensify it. Let's just spray it on this. Let's just see it. It just really starts intensifying it, making it look even better. It's definitely something you want to use. Without using these colors, you're not going to ever get the glow that you're after. The realism. So those are really starting to glow. Okay, we'll kind of let that dry. I'm going to slip my mask on here real quick. I clean out my airbrush. Now what I've done is I've just put a tad bit of purple, or excuse me, black in here. You know, one of the steps you'll see on the supplies page is passion purple. Normally, with our real fire, up in the very tops, out at the tips, we'll put a little bit of that purple. Now as we get into another panel that I'm going to do nothing but fire, and it'll be a bigger area, it's not going to be mask off like this, I'll show you how to use that purple. What I've got in here now is black. And I want to see some more just foggy, little smoky like areas in here, so I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. Don't want it on top of the yellow, so be a little bit more precise. Just in a circular motion. And hold back a ways. That's why you don't want to just do your solid red. When you're doing that red, you get too much red, and then you have to go back and do this. Okay. All right, we're going to let that dry. So, tell you what, before we end this video, we'll just go ahead and unmask that so you can see it. I was just going to shut it off and we do it in the next video, but let's just do it here real quick so you can actually see what this looks like. And this is still pretty fresh, so I got to be really careful here. Well, we should actually just wait. Just going to kind of touch it here in a few places, see if it's good and tacky. Touching it on top of the masking. It seems to be pretty good, so let's go ahead and now the bad thing about, I don't know if you can see it, the bad thing about this clear is the paint sticks to it and then it flakes off. So right now it's trying to flake off on top of my artwork, which that's why you want to wait on unmasking these till, of course, you're all done. But you also want to wait till everything's dry. That's the only thing I don't like about this clear Frisket paper is it's bad about flaking off. It's just like anything that's plastic. Like when we do bigger projects and we cover stuff with plastic wrap, you get too many layers of paint on top of plastic, it always starts trying to flake off. And that's like disastrous. You got wet paint right beside it, it's trying to flake off. You can imagine what's going to happen. In the next video, we're going to come in here and we're going to pinstripe this. Pinstriping is going to really help set your projects off. Now you don't have to. Get good clean lines. You don't have to pinstripe if you don't want to. But I'll tell you, it'll make your projects look a lot nicer. And if you do have any, you're always going to get some edges. Now see where that paper was wrinkled? My masking, if you can see it, but there's little places where it creeped underneath because it had those wrinkles. I don't know if you can see it. Here's that line. See, we didn't mask that intentionally so we could see this. There's that line. And we can fix it. Go right over some black, no big deal. So what I was saying, in a real project, we want to mask everything off, but we don't want overspray or paint on. Okay, so let's take our tack rag. I think this is pretty dry. Let's just go over that, kind of clean it up a little. See, it picked up all kinds of stuff. Okay, I think you can kind of see what that looks like. It's got a really good look to it. So in the next video, we're going to pinstripe this. All right, practice, practice. That's what makes you perfect. See you in the next video.